some of the things I do just bring me joy and won't necessarily support my longevity. And so, but joy is a part of wellness. Joy is a very important wellness. So it's important to make sure you look at that and do that in moderation.
You are listening to Midlife with Courage. This is where women in midlife come for inspiration, motivation, and sometimes a little education to help them live more boldly. Don't forget to hit that follow or subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Now let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Midlife with Courage. I am Kim Benoit, your host. Thank you for listening today. I have a wonderful guest with me today. Her name is Lindsey Kilgo. Welcome to the podcast, Lindsay.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
We are going to talk today about the importance of wellness. Another thing that we're going to talk about is joy. Joy and wellness to me don't always go together because I think of wellness as exercise. So help me change my point of view on that, Lindsay.
Yes. I mean, I would say that is exactly what I'm trying to change. That, if you're asked to do something over and over again that does not feel joyful, you are not going to do it, So
Bingo.
yes. So I think it's important to not only find joy in your wellness program, but then also recognize that doing these wellness activities will bring you more joy as well.
Okay, sure. Let's go back a little bit and tell us about your story. How did you get into wellness with women?
Sure, yeah. So I've always been into fitness and wellness starting at a young age. I grew up with not a lot of boundaries around what it meant to be well and to eat well. And so I kind of had to find my own way. And obviously, I did a lot of things wrong and eventually found my way to what feels right. And moving into midlife life, obviously that changes. I turned 40 this past year. Actually, I'm getting ready to turn 41. So I made it, a whole year in the midlife and things change. So you do have to adapt. What felt good in your 20s doesn't feel good in your 40s. Running a marathon for me, I did in my 20s. I would not do it right now because it would cause actually more harm than wellness for me. So I think it's been quite the journey. I found heavy weightlifting in my early 20s and gaining that strength helped me gain confidence in myself. It helped me see how women's bodies can perform at a high level. I actually compete in strongman competitions and I still do. And the
Okay.
way that that's changed being in my 40s, I'm now considered a master's level athlete, which is great. They lower the weights a little bit for you as a master's. But instead of doing 2 competitions a year, now I compete about once every 2 years to give my body time to train and adjust. So it's adapting and it's analyzing, do I still find joy in this activity? And I do. And so how can I make that work for me in midlife?
Okay. Now, when you say strongman weightlifting, how much weight are you lifting? Give us an
Yeah,
idea.
actually, my first competition in the master's level was in November, and I lifted a 300-pound frame off the ground. Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
I was really proud of that. I worked with a coach. I'm a coach. I'm a personal trainer, but all good coaches and personal trainers work with personal trainers and coaches too. So I worked with a coach to really help, guide me there, make sure I wasn't pushing myself too hard and was able to get to that 300-pound goal by competition time.
Wow. That is amazing. Kudos to you. My goodness.
Thank you.
So you said something before I asked about that is you were doing it because it brought you joy. How did you come to that idea that you're going to do things that bring you joy?
I think it took me a long time of doing things because I hated my body to get to the point of doing things because I love my body. And that was a big process to go through, realizing that you only get one body and the way it looks or the imperfections or perceived imperfections don't mean a whole lot when you're 90 years old and everybody looks the same. So instead, let me celebrate what my body can do. And instead of fighting it or judging it, and that was a big step in finding joy and wellness.
So focusing on what we can do rather than fighting on what we can't do. I love that because we do get to a point where, like I said, I'm not going to run half marathon. I'll never, ever do that again.
Mhm.
I may not even run again.
Yeah.
but I can walk. I love to walk.
Yes. Yes. Love it.
Yeah. So finding things like that, when we get to be in our midlife, how does that taking care of ourselves, our bodies, how does that change?
I mean, we have a lot of factors that start hitting. I tell people you can get away with a lot when you're younger, but it starts when you're in midlife that your choices and your genetics do start to show themselves a little bit more. So the choices you make have an outcome on how you feel, how you move. And obviously, hormones is a big part of that for women. I mean, and men. Men, it just happens a little bit later, right? But
Sure.
so women, for me, it was like around 38 that I started seeing big changes in I can't do the same things that I used to do. I get injured. I've torn muscles. You try every kind of diet and nothing works. You can eat perfectly and not lose a single pound. So, it feels like you start to fight against things if you keep doing it in the way that you did when you were younger in your 20s.
Now, a word from our sponsor. What if the reason you've struggled to reach your health goals isn't a lack of willpower, but a lack of strategy? That's why I'm excited to introduce you to Stephanie at Renew Wellness. Stephanie is a wellness strategist who believes most people don't have a motivation problem, they have a strategy problem. Conflicting advice about diets, exercise, and wellness can lead to information overload, making us feel overwhelmed and wondering what actually works. Instead of handing you another plan to follow, Stephanie helps you build a personalized wellness strategy through her Wellness Roadmap program. She'll even guide you through the Clifton Strengths Assessment to uncover your natural strengths so your strategy fits your life, not someone else's. And she doesn't just give you information and send you on your way. Stephanie walks alongside you, providing guidance, encouragement, and accountability because she wants your health journey to become part of your success story. If you'd also enjoy the support of other women, she is offering a women-only cohort experience. So if you're ready to stop chasing information and start following a strategy designed just for you, connect with Stephanie at renew-wellness.com. So what kind of resources are there to help us adjust to all the midlife changes that we're going through?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's really finding a lot of different team members. I have a few medical professionals that I've worked with. I've worked with a hormone specialist. She does lots of different things. That might be a discussion for different podcasts, but
Yeah.
hormone replacement therapy, peptides, there's a lot of options out there for women to help us feel better as we age now. So I've worked with a couple medical professionals. And then I also have friends that are going through it too. And we just compare notes and we talk and we say, how are you feeling? What do you do? And then, I mean, a lot of it is learning yourself and trusting yourself and feeling your body. What feels good? If I run of 5K now, that's about it. If I run more than that, I start to feel bad. And knowing that I feel bad and not feeling like, well, that means I'm lazy or not doing enough. And instead realizing it's a signal from my body of like, that's not what you need anymore. What you need now is long walks and Pilates and yoga and strength training that is higher reps and lower weights, feeling that. And then I think the other part of what I tell people when I mention my strongman is I do acknowledge that some of the things I do just bring me joy and won't necessarily support my longevity. And so, but joy is a part of wellness. Joy is a very important wellness. So it's important to make sure you look at that and do that in moderation. I think maybe a good example, not everybody enjoys strongman. We mentioned running and marathons. So plenty of women do that in midlife, even though it might be putting extra strain and stress on their joints. I'm sure it brings them lots of joy. But a big thing that a lot of people can relate to is probably diet. So
Mm.
things that, now we look at a cookie and gain 5 pounds. Like, does that mean we should cut out cookies, right? No, it doesn't. Because if a cookie is made at home with your kids or your grandkids or is given to you as a, loving gesture by someone, you shouldn't feel like you have to say, "Oh my goodness, I'm in midlife. I can't because, you know, it makes me gain a pound," or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. We talk a lot here on this podcast about outside forces telling us what we should do or what we're supposed to look like. And I think this is just another version of that. When you're talking about the cookie, oh, I shouldn't eat that because I'm going to gain weight and that's not what I'm supposed to do. If you keep extending that out because that's what society is telling me. But you know what?
Exactly.
I like eating that cookie because I feel good and I remember that I made it with my kids or my grandkids or whoever.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It's finding that joy and then also knowing, I mean, I know everybody says find the moderation, but what is the limit, right? One cookie made with love is not going to be what causes your wellness to decline. If you have a negative habit of going for cookies every time you're sad or something stressful happens, that's what you need to address because that's the habit that's going to reinforce negative wellness over time.
Right. When you talk about wellness, that's a general category. So are you talking, we're not just talking physical wellness. Are you talking mental, emotional, that too, spirit?
Yes, it's all part of wellness to me. I think for me, feeling good, and I would define it as having more good days, whether that's physically or emotionally, even financially. More good days to me is the foundation of wellness. And I always tell people that you're not going to have all good days. Life will be up and down. There will be hard times. There will be challenging times. There will be times where you're sick or injured. And the goal is never perfection. It's just more joy and more good days.
Yeah, I love that. It kind of takes pressure off too a little bit, you know?
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
pressure too can take some of the joy and add stress. And we know how stress can affect your wellness. It can cause heart problems, it can cause lots of different mental illnesses. Now we've even realized it can cause pain, joint pains and muscle pains can be manifested or from stress.
Yeah. Well, and two, stress raises your cortisol levels, which throws everything out of whack. And that's the one thing that is affecting all of us. That's why we get the menopause belly and all that wonderful stuff that happens.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so we really have to pay attention to that. To me, it seems like it's almost overwhelming. There's so much information out there, especially for us in midlife. How do we know where to start? Every week on Midlife with Courage, we share stories that remind us we're not alone. Now, I'd love to take that conversation one step further. It's Not Just You is a 4-week workshop where we'll discover the ways we've learned to shrink ourselves and practice taking up space with courage and confidence. Because listening can inspire us, but practicing creates lasting change. If you're ready for that next step, click the link in the show notes to join the priority list. I hope you'll join me this September.
I think that goes back to a little bit about what you were saying before. We are starting to trust things, or we were starting to trust things outside of ourselves. And now it's about coming back into yourself. And that's where you should start. You should start with how do you feel and analyzing things that you like. You should be able to sit with the difficult feelings and say, what is this telling me? I'm not enjoying these difficult CrossFit style workouts anymore. What is that telling me? Why am I making myself do that if I'm not enjoying it and finding joy and my muscles hurt so much that I can't function like I should be able to? So, sitting with why am I making myself do something that doesn't feel joyful? And is it coming from an outside source that really knows what they're talking about? Or is this just more noise that we're having to absorb? And not everyone's the same. So any information that you're getting from, the internet or people around you, it doesn't always apply to you.
Right, right. I think that's one of the very many bad things about the internet. There's that information out there and it just to me, and I'm guilty of it too. So I'll see an ad for something, gosh, I should try that.
Mhm.
And sometimes most of the time I stop myself, but it's hard to remember that one thing isn't going to work for everybody, no matter what they
Right.
say.
Exactly.
And peptides is just one I've done episodes on peptides too, and we don't have to get into all that, but that's just one example of there's so much information on that out there. And some people, you need this, you don't need that. Like, it's so much.
Yes. One thing about me is I've always been a self-experimenter. And
Hmm.
so I like to be able to speak from knowing instead of speaking from research. And I enjoy reading the research and hearing what other people are saying. But until I've experienced it, I don't ever talk about it in a way that it's 100% absolute fact.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So let's talk a little bit about how you help women in your business, in your
Yeah.
coaching.
So I guess the first thing I like to understand, what are you trying? What have you tried? What are your goals? And then we take it as a bigger picture. Like, how do you want to feel? What does that look like for you? And we oftentimes start with a dream life visualization. And that could be, what do you want to look like in a year? But that could be, what do you want to look like in 10 years? Because everything is a process. So, you could have, you want to be retired. There are things that you can't do when you're at, the working stage of your life, or things that you can't do that you're at a young children stage of your life that you can do in 5 or 10 years. So, what are we working towards? And then once I have that idea, and then they've really seen and felt that with the dream life visualization, that's where we start. Okay, what is the path forward to get there? One of the things that, I think it's important is consistency, right? So whatever you choose to do is continuing to show up. And from everything I've experienced, I've been a trainer for 17 years and in wellness for 20 professionally. It's making sure that you have things that support you in that path, right? So whether it's a workout buddy, a coach, a trainer, a wellness professional, having people that on your worst days or times where you're stuck are able to say, "Hey, come on, let's go do something for your wellness," is incredibly important. So figuring out what that looks like. How can we build that support system? Because like I said, it's not going to be all good days. So
Yeah.
how do we make sure that when we're going through the rough times, we can see why it's important to continue to have that vision and work towards that, even if we have to take a little bit of a rest or, a break.
To me, it's motivation. I need to be motivated. And some days the motivation is if I don't move my body, I'm going to have trouble down the road. And some days I think I don't feel like it, so I'm not going to move.
Yeah.
How do you help women with like that, like me, who have trouble getting motivated to get to do things?
Yeah, I think that takes a good bit of sitting with yourself for a while and understanding, am I not wanting to move today because my body needs rest and I'm going through something? Or am I not wanting to move today because it feels uncomfortable? And as far as like, you like to be cozy in your house with a blanket, right. I think it's important to know the difference between staying too comfortable and making sure that you are taking time to rest when you need to rest because your body needs it, because your mind needs it, because your soul needs it. And I think a lot of times having people in your corner is what helps you kind of recognize the difference. I always say too that I have an easier time, and I know I'm not the only one, showing up for other people than I do showing up for myself. That way, if I have a friend that I'm meeting at the gym, I have a trainer, an appointment that I have to go to, if I don't absolutely need it, if it's not my body telling me you can't do this today, and I have somebody else waiting for me, I do show up. So
Mm,
figuring out what works for you, what can you put in your life to help you push through? Is it just I want to be cozy and I don't feel like getting a little uncomfortable? Or do I really need this rest and recovery time?
yeah. I think it's really easy for us to do the cozy thing. And I love the idea of asking yourself, because that's one thing that we all need to do is just get curious about whatever is going on in our life, not just wellness, but other things too. But okay, why am I resisting this? Why am I not doing this? And be okay with the answer that I just don't feel like it. Okay, why? Keep asking that. I think that's a big part of it. And I need to do that myself. But yeah, do you find like, do you find that women, I was going to say older, but the women who are farther along in their life journey, that's my new way of saying older. Do you think, is it easier for women in midlife to, um, I don't want to say buy into this, but become like resonate with what you're doing than when they were younger?
I mean, I do think there's a lot of social pressure when you're younger to stay well because you're trying to either attract a partner or you're trying to look a certain way for social media. And I think we hit midlife and we just hopefully are starting to care less. I know it's still a journey and a process, and we all have some deep insecurities that we work through. But I do think that it is a relatable journey that we get to a point and we're like, we want to do this because we want to feel good and we want to live a long time. And we want that long time to be joyful and to be mobile and to be able to have experiences instead of just living a long time, but being stuck on a couch or a hospital bed because we didn't take care of our bodies.
Yeah. I mean, we're closer to the end than the beginning, so we know what's ahead, and so trying to make it the best version possible of ourselves, I guess, would be one way to put it, and to keep that in our minds. So, yeah. What do you think is the most difficult challenge for women our age, my age, midlife women for their wellness?
I mean, I think the fact that it's so different, you've spent many years either not having a wellness journey because your metabolism was amazing and you didn't have to, or doing things in a way that was for, more vanity related wellness goals. I wouldn't even call that wellness goals, to be honest, maybe fitness goals. And so you're having to, in midlife, do something new and learn something new. And it's not easy. And again, that goes back to feeling discomfort. And sometimes when we're learning something new, we feel like that, baby deer, and we look a little awkward, or, we've never taken a Pilates class, or we've never done something, in the same way before. And so I think there's a little bit of that where we don't want to have to go back to where we're not feeling confident and like we
Right.
know what we're doing. But finding those support systems and those professionals and those friends that will do it with you and be by your side and say, we'll look awkward together, or we'll learn this together, or it's okay to start something new in midlife.
Right. Yeah, there's the power of connection and community. We need that throughout our life, but I'm finding it's very important as we are in midlife. And we need to know that there's other people that are in the same boat as we are, basically.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. So you are a personal trainer and you offer coaching. Tell us where people could find you if they wanted to know more about you.
So I'm in Richmond, Virginia, and I do offer virtual wellness coaching. So I operate under Manifesting Wellness Collective, and that's my website, manifestingwellnesscollective.com, or Manifesting Wellness Collective on Instagram. But one of the big things, like we were mentioning, building that community, building that support in Richmond, a big part of what I'm doing is offering in-person wellness events. Because what I am finding for women in midlife and women of all ages really is that we have lost a little bit of that in-person connection, and it is leading to loneliness, and loneliness leads to its own wellness issues. I mean, that is, feeling lonely leads to mental health conditions, and like we said, those can manifest in physical ways as well. So my goal is to bring people together around wellness events, and I'm hosting a lot of fun ones that I hope bring people joy. I have actually a self-defense class that I'm hosting coming up in a couple weeks that helps women build resilience and courage There's a fun event I have in a couple months that is building confidence, and it's at a cat cafe. So you get to go play with kittens for an hour while we talk about building confidence. And a lot of that has to do with embracing who you are as a person, embracing your positive gifts. So, building that connection in person, making it a part of fun events that you can do together with your friends and loved ones is a
Yeah.
big part of what I'm hoping to bring through my wellness coaching.
I love that. Actually, just had a guest on who is a therapist, and part of her therapy is walking with her clients. And she started a walking club for women, whoever, not that's not part of her therapy, but it's so important to get together with other women. And you're right, we have lost that. You can blame COVID for a lot of things, and that's probably one of them because it's so easy not to get out of the house and connect. But if someone, I'm in Wisconsin, you're in Virginia, how would you suggest I would start if I wanted to maybe build something like that or create opportunities for women? What could I do?
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved event planning, but I know that's not for everyone. So, one of the things that I started to do when I wanted to build this community is I started networking. And so going to networking events, and you can find people that can help support your strengths or your weaknesses, right? So if you're strong in one area and you have a desire to support women or to be a part of wellness, but in-person event planning isn't your strong suit, get out there and start meeting people and having discussions of how can we do this together? How can we grow wellness and connection in our community together? And I've met a lot of great women. Half of my events now, I'm co-hosting with other women that have strengths that I don't have. I have Pilates instructors that are doing the Pilates portion, and I'm doing a de-stress portion of the classes. So when you start putting yourself out there and looking for strengths in other people and not going out there and trying to say, oh, I'm the best wellness coach. Everyone's with me. You're looking for how can we build this together? You will
Yeah.
find those people.
Yeah. I love that. Tell me, you just said something interesting. You're doing the de-stress portion of it. Tell us about that.
Yes. So I will do a lot of breath work. I'll also talk about how you can use aromatherapy. And then a big part of what I will be discussing is how planning a schedule is going to help transition. It's actually at the end of summer, transition from summer into that busy time of life. So if you can sit down and just even have a rough idea of, okay, this is what these big parts of life, like working or kids, commuting, pet care, spouse relationships, these are the big blocks that I need to put in first. And then making sure you put wellness in, and then all the other little things can find their way in. So having that schedule, it's kind of like the big rock theory when they talk about the jar, you put in the big rocks first and then smaller rocks, and you can fill with sand.
Yeah.
Using that theory to build your upcoming busy season schedule to make sure that you include the things that will improve your wellness and support your joy.
Yeah. And one of the things I wanted to make sure that people heard from this conversation is that you can fit wellness into your busy life. There are ways to do it. And
Yes. And I would say we talked about lots of misconceptions out there. And I would say one that I find is very damaging that has been out there for years is that you need an hour at the gym 4 days a week to get any results. And I have seen amazing results in women taking 15 minutes a day to do some sort of wellness supporting activity. And, hopefully, if you have 30 minutes or 45 minutes, you can add on to that as time goes along. But if all you have is 15 minutes, it's important to know that that will actually support your wellness and not go to this place of, oh, it's only 15 minutes. Why waste my time?
right, the word only and just are two words. It's just 15 minutes or it's only 15 minutes. No, it's 15 minutes
Yes.
that you did something.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
it changes your metabolism. It changes the way you use oxygen. It supports your mental health, bone health, joint health. There's so many things, so many benefits of 15 minutes of fitness.
Yeah. And I have been better. After supper, instead of eating and then sitting on the couch, I will go outside my house and I will walk for 15 minutes because I know it's good for my blood sugar and everything. And the more you do it, the more you want to do it as well, I'm finding.
Absolutely.
Just move your body to me. That
Right,
seems
exactly.
important.
There's a saying that 100 steps after every meal will help you live 100 years. And that's just a saying, that's not like a medical fact. But if you can just remember that even that little bit of movement, 100 steps is, maybe 3 minutes. It's not even a 15-minute walk. So just reminding yourself that every little bit really counts towards your longevity and your wellness, and that, nothing is a waste of time, nothing is too small. It's important
Right,
to do something.
right. Wonderful. Lindsay, thank you so much for being here with me today. You've got a lot of great tips and lots of great midlife advice for women that are listening out there. Is there any one last little nugget or message you want to leave with the listeners?
I mean, I feel like midlife is really when we start to become our best selves. And we've learned a lot. And hopefully, we take those lessons and we use them to find more joy in life so that we can just have more happiness, more wellness, more good times.
Love it. Well, thank you for bringing me joy today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you for listening to Midlife with Courage. If you liked what you heard, I would love it if you would leave a review. Or even better, send a link of this episode to a friend who needs it. Until next time, take care of your beautiful self.